What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Served on the Rocks, powered by Living in Colorado, the Mile High Perspective on YouTube. My name is Charlie Sardelli, and as always, I'm here with
Jameson
two fine gentlemen.
Amaros. Oh, I jumped ahead of you.
Two fine gentlemen.
Hey,
And they are.
Jameson Amaros.
Oscar Ibarra.
Sorry,
I
jumped out of the.
Yeah.
Jumped out of the.
You added it.
the-
You added an
Jameson
extra.
said, "You don't know me. I'm not a gentleman."
You added an extra sentence. I
Right?
wasn't prepared for.
But
Throwing
honestly,
shit
it's a
off.
great start for today's episode. So,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
you know, we've been last couple of weeks we've been holding you. Yes, we've had some great bourbon, but we've been holding you about an hour and a half for the episodes. And honestly, we're just in full holiday season. We just kind of want to hang out with you, drink a phenomenal bourbon that we have today, and one that's going to be great to go up against that 1920, that
Prohibition.
Old Forester Prohibition that Oscar brought last week. And on today's episode, we're going to be drinking the Dexter Small Batch Rye. If you guys don't remember, Jameson and I did an episode, I think it was about 8 back now, maybe 9 back, and we reviewed the Dexter. Unfortunately, Oscar wasn't able to be there on that episode, but so every time we've been
I know.
I keep saying we're going to
bring it back. So.
Oscar hasn't been able to
You're like,
feel
it's
it.
great bourbon. Okay. I'll take your word
I
for it.
believe you.
But I mean, it's going to be really cool with the Dexter because it, you know, having the rye, it changes it. And that's the thing, like, you know, bourbon drinkers, I don't know about you guys, but like, I feel like if you drink rye and you enjoy rye, that's like a telltale sign that you've been drinking bourbon for a while, right?
Brain brew.
so-
That's what it was.
Brain brew?
That's the distiller.
Okay.
Drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
Or any spirit straight.
Hold on, real quick. It's real sad.
You're just on a roll, cutting people.
No,
off
I'm
today.
just, you know. Listen, this is like a. Anyway, you'll log into the. I always log into the websites to check the bourbon and like whatever, and they say, oh yeah, how old are you? Are you sure you're 21? And normally they just say, are you sure you're 21? This one has the date pre-put in as being born in 2002.
Whoa. I feel old.
That fucking hurts.
I deserve.
You know,
to
what
be
I'm
on
like
drinking
that.
bourbon.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
I
two-
know.
I
And you know what's-
graduated.
you know
I
what?
graduated in 04 from high school.
You want to know when I graduated from high school?
99.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was 99.
you were a Y2K graduate.
I was.
Oscar,
The world was
think
going to
of
end
you as
after
that old,
graduation. I was like, college? Shit.
I
It's
don't
going to
think-
hit the fan. I mean, I'm
2002.
just
I
kidding.
don't see, Oscar, you do a real good job, man. I never would have guessed that you graduated high school in 99.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
So, you know what's funny? Those websites, they always ask how old you are. First of all, it's on a trust system. Second of all, if there's a
It is on a trust system.
you know,
so
if there's a 12-year-old, you know, trying to get into a
All
Jim
I'm
Beam
saying is
website,
there
or
were a couple skin-based websites, you know, like skin-on-skin-based websites that I was logging into when I was like 12 or 13.
what's skin dermatology? What are we talking about here?
I'm trying to. This is a holiday episode. I'm
that's
trying to be
Holiday
nice.
episode. Charlie was looking at porn.
skin-based websites.
No, but what's funny is, I mean, if there's a 12-year-old trying to get information on some old man whiskey, that'd be interesting. One and two, it's on an honor system, so it's always funny to, you know, what's there that's, you know.
Yeah. Well, and it's
I don't know.
honestly, that's a good little segue into kind of what we're going to talk about
Yeah.
with the bourbon today. And like I said, guys, today's episode we're going to be kind of laid back, but we found an article that I don't know about you guys, but it gave me a little bit of hope because the article came out and it said how middle schoolers are planning on fixing affordable housing, right? And just right off the bat, wow. The housing market's that bad, huh? That we got kids.
And, you know, and that's
Talk
I
about
think-
anxiety.
I think that's awesome because, you know, as industry leaders, right? We're set in our ways. I'm jaded in a few ways, and
I love
all this
this.
stuff, and
Love this.
we're not going to think outside the box as much.
love it.
You get these kids throwing random stuff that you're like, that might work.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole thing, you know, like you said, is that they wrap their heads around it a different way, and it's something for me. The fact that they're thinking about it now, and this is something that they're talking about in middle school, gives me hope because if they have another 6 years of schooling to go through if they go through college,
Yeah.
right?
And I think middle school is that age where they're still like honest and
Yeah.
just I want to say pure and honest, because once they hit high school, oh man, these fuckers. Kids just change so much in high school, the hormones, and they don't give a hoot about
gets
anything.
going. Yeah.
So I think middle school is a good, honest age.
Yeah.
We did actually really quick. I went to Horace Mann Middle School in Denver, and the year that the Avalanche came to Colorado, they offered us some prize if we could come up with the best arena, because we were at McNichols still, and they were gonna build an arena and what we were gonna name the team, and the Mountain Lions and this, and when they said Avalanche, I thought that was the most ridiculous name ever. I was like, that's not gonna stick. It's an avalanche.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted an animal or something.
Yeah.
What's our mascot gonna be?
A mountain.
A mountain. And,
Hey, listen.
And it stuck, and that was cool, right? In middle school, they did that.
That's
so,
awesome.
Tell you what, though, regardless of the mascots, any of my Ohio natives that watch this, OHIO, y'all have the worst mascot on the fucking planet.
Who's their mascot?
Ohio State?
Yeah.
It's a Buckeye.
Oh yeah.
You know what a Buckeye is?
No.
It's a nut
It's a
from
nut.
a tree.
You know what's funny? It's
Almost as bad as Virginia Tech Hokies, which apparently is a turkey.
in the Hispanic community, they have the same Buckeye
Yeah.
seed. It's called Ojo de Venado.
Yeah, see, that would even be cooler. Ohio State Ojo de Venado sounds way better than Ohio State Buckeyes.
And
I
they
don't know,
look like
man.
a.
Have you heard them say it?
And
Buckeyes.
Their sticker looks like a wheat plant.
Yeah, that's what's very confusing.
Yeah.
Can you smoke this? Nope.
Nope.
Not here.
Nope. Can you
Can't.
grow another
Nope.
tree?
Nope.
Kind of.
You can rake it when
Oh,
it falls
man.
off the tree.
So
Anyway,
if you guys
let's pour
couldn't
this-
tell,
pour
I
this
was gonna
whiskey,
say,
huh?
If you guys couldn't tell, this is how the episode's going to go today. So hang out with us, pour a glass, and let's drink this Dexter. JMO, you want to go into a little bit? On
I mean,
Dexter?
Dexter is distilled by Brain Brew Brewery.
By who?
Brain Brew.
Brain Brew.
So it's more of a scientific way of distilling bourbon, right? The history of it goes back to, I don't know, is a picture on this? The dude, my guy?
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah,
He's on there.
Edmund Dexter from the 1800s.
That just sounds smart.
And we talked about this the last time we had this. He was so famous that he hosted Charles Dickens
Oh wow.
and King Edward VII and had them stay at his house in Cincinnati.
Damn.
Because he was that well renowned of a brewer and distiller of bourbon.
Yeah, so there's 100 proof too.
Yep.
Okay.
You hear all these like actors and presidents. Man, I hosted Charles Dickens. What's up?
Yeah, legit.
That's what I'm saying. So
the
it's
Dickens.
and we already
That's
know
awesome.
that it's good, right?
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Brain
they
Brew
won-
Custom Whiskey is the distillery.
That's impressive. I don't even want to hear the rest of the story. This dude knew
Yeah.
freaking Dickens.
Yeah. They've won. I mean, they've won so many awards.
They were spirit, top 12 spirits of the world
Yes.
in 2021, I think it was. JMO, did you find anything on the bill? Because this is a high rye. Did you find anything on the mash
The
bill?
mash.
No, I
and
can-
what,
I can
what
find
other?
it.
We have the rye today.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
yes.
have a couple other ones.
Yeah, so
They do.
the
They've got a
one-
bunch.
I was going to say the one that Jameson and I had was just like the standard, their regular bourbon, and that one was, I think, what was it, 85, 80 proof,
85.
85.
No, wait. The regular
Yeah.
Dexter 90.
90. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So this one with the rye is actually 10 points higher, so it's 100 proof.
Yes.
And it's honestly, like, I would say that I didn't really like ryes. I never really liked ryes. But I feel like as I get older, my palate shifts to more of the bitter. Like, I know I talk all the time about loving sweet, loving the candy and all that kind of stuff, but before I couldn't even stomach a rye. Like, it would literally, it would be too dry. It would pull too much out of my mouth, and I didn't want it. I didn't want to enjoy it. I mean, just the nose on this guy alone, right?
Have you guys have heard of Yingling, right? You're
Yeah.
from the East Coast. You know
Yingling?
you
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So one of the things about Yingling is my dad just got a case from Kansas City,
Yingling and
actually.
old style.
But you can only find it in certain areas. So this is just something new about Dexter. There's only a handful of states that actually carry this in their liquor stores.
Another reason why Colorado is a superior state here in the United
Colorado, Kentucky, New Hampshire, and Ohio.
You know what's funny?
Those are the only 4 states that you can buy this in store. You can order it online and get it shipped to you.
Okay.
But if you're not in those 4 states, you will not find this in a liquor store.
That's how
Sorry for those people.
Eleonora.
Yeah.
They to Texas distilled bourbon, and you can't find it in other states. And we were going to fly out to buy one.
Yep.
So because my daughter's name's Eleonora.
Yep.
But anyway, what I was going to say is I didn't know Tuaca was a Colorado thing.
Yeah, the chill zone, baby. That's
Yeah.
old school nuggets.
Yeah, and I went to
Really?
Florida and I tried to I asked for a Tuaca bomb, and they looked at me like I was crazy. I was like, Tuaca, you don't have Tuaca? They're like, to what the hell? Get out of here.
Wow.
But I have to look at the mash bill. I can't
I was
find
going to
it.
say, because just on the nose of this guy.
The one thing I will say that makes Dexter, and again, it's a scientific way of distilling whiskey.
Isn't off
They have a
science?
temperature control system that they use during the distilling process.
what?
They keep a temperature control system
Okay.
that they keep things within a 1/10 of a degree of where they want it throughout the entire process.
Wow.
Which is why all these bottles taste so fucking
Well,
good.
yeah, and I mean, we've had other bottles
And they
too
use
that-
200-year-old 5-wood is what they call it.
Okay.
So a mix of barrels that have specific wood. So it's like maple, cherry, and 200-year oak.
Okay.
And they don't
Interesting.
use
Or 3-wood, sorry, not 5-wood.
they
3-year
don't-
Interesting,
broke.
they
okay.
don't-
And I-
they
I'm gonna
don't-
look
They
here,
use the
'cause
metric
maybe-
system, so they're
Maybe
that
they have it
precise.
on here.
Yes, exactly.
So small batch bottling, Dexter Great Greens. It celebrates the 4 most popular whiskey grains: wheat, corn, rye, and barley.
So
Okay.
if we had to compare, Jack Daniels would be the Ford truck of,
Yeah.
of whiskey, and this would be like the Mercedes Benz or some German line.
Yep.
This it's the Lamborghini of.
Okay, so just to kind of go in on what Jameson said, it says this is finished using hand-selected 200-year oak, American oak, European oak, cherry wood, and maple wood. And it got 95 points. Extraordinary ultimate recommendation from Ultimate Spirits in 2021. So, I
You know,
mean,
there-
we're
there's-
drinking a good bottle. We're drinking
There's some good burn.
yeah. Just on the nose of
Yeah,
it,
the,
I mean,
the initial.
it's sweet
It
for
is.
a rye.
But I smell like some tannin, some leather.
Absolutely, absolutely, it's there, but surprisingly, especially compared to some of the other ryes that we had, it's really sweet on the nose.
And I don't know if it's the cup or the bourbon, but it's some clay,
Yep.
Yeah.
some wet dirt.
For sure, and
for 100 proof?
a little bit of fruit, just
Yeah, a little bit of peach,
Yeah, a
something like that.
little
Nothing
hint.
crazy, but yes, a little peach.
Yeah, a little bit of peach.
I'll tell you what though, that it's
Smells
not
good.
even.
Look at the legs on this thing. It lingers. Wow.
Yep, it's heavy.
The color is light. It's not too dark. It
Yeah,
smells-
honestly, it's perfect for a rye.
it smells great, and I wouldn't think it was this clear.
No, not at all.
Not in a bad way. I mean, it's not like, it looks great.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my first sip on it because this nose is tantalizing, as they say. So cheers, gentlemen.
Charlie tells us that it's going to be just a vibing episode, and he's so strict. we're just drinking, and he's like, wait, we need follow the steps, boys.
All right. So there's something happening here. I mean, the rye is there. Like you get the rye mixes really well with the burn from the
Yes.
alcohol, but the flavor that you get from it is almost pepperminty, right?
Yep.
Like
Peppercorn.
yeah, yeah, right on the front. And then it definitely goes back to a little bit it's surprising how minimal the caramel is, that sweetness is based on the nose.
And it doesn't linger because
No.
the finish is better.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely a rye.
Yeah.
But I mean, the evolution of it, just from sip, front of mouth to back. And what's really interesting is that I feel like it's not, a lot of the bourbons that we get, it sits on the tip of your tongue and then diminishes. But this one, I'm getting all the burn, all the flavor right on the front of my tongue.
Yeah, and it finishes clean. It doesn't linger much. It's there, you get it, and it finishes clean.
And I will say, like, the mouthfeel of it, you can definitely see how heavy it is. Like what you were talking about with the legs. And I'm definitely getting that leather. Like if there was like a liquefied leather, I feel like that's what it would feel like. It's smooth, but it has some grain to it.
But not like fine, car leather.
Corinthian leather.
No, it's like a catcher's mitt.
Yeah,
know.
exactly. That was a good reference. I appreciate that, Oscar.
Like,
That's good stuff.
there's different leathers.
Yeah, you can see the fray in it.
Yeah.
You can see the fray in the
You can
leather.
taste the fray in the leather.
Absolutely.
It's funny. It's just hard to find information on this because it's not
Scientific.
widely available.
Yeah. And that's why I looked at the bottle too. I figured, maybe they'll have something on the bottle, but they barely even put.
To me, it's one of the more complex ryes we've had
Yes,
because of
absolutely.
the evolution
And
between
actually,
the front of the tongue to the back of the
You know
throat.
what, Oscar? I think what we're tasting with the leather is the combination of the 5 woods.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely what it is.
I always, if someone brings a bottle of bourbon, rye, whiskey, and it's in these wine-looking bottles, you know you're in for something decent to good.
See, and I will say, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it's
Yeah,
a rye.
there's cinnamon on the back end too. A
Absolutely.
little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of peppercorn, caramel. I get the leather / clay. Like it's just.
It's full body. Like that. Like if that, like this would be the definition of.
It
full
really
body.
is. Yeah.
Like a toned down, mild, red hot.
With a
Little Red Hot
with a
candies?
with a cigar.
Oh my God! This
yeah.
would. Oh, dude, a Maduro.
I got some in the car.
Yeah.
Shit. We need to
Do we
get this
got-
clear.
do
Break
we
the
have a
rules.
place to smoke
We'll
it?
break the rules and just smoke them while we.
Yeah, we got to do
Hey,
that on it. That
we
I'll
do.
in the chill
That would
episode.
be the chill episode.
Sit back.
Fuck
Blake said it
yes,
was
dude.
coming back.
We'll just
They
crack
didn't tell
open
us
this.
where.
We'll just barely crack open this door. We'll fucking do it in here.
It's
You
good
know
to go.
what?
We're good to go.
Anyway.
Right?
Okay,
But I
this
mean,
is
guys-
this is an off tangent
Go for it. We're chilling,
episode.
Baby. It's a holiday episode.
You guys watch those two comedians, something and Peel?
Key and Peele.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the school teacher. Every time that we see
Hey,
Blake,
Aaron?
yeah, I'm like
Hey, Aaron?
Blake. I want to call him Blake so bad.
Oh man.
I looked into that girl's eyes, deep into her soul. I said, B.
There,
You said that? You
you
actually
said
said
that?
that? to her?
You told
Yeah,
her that.
bro.
He's like, yeah.
Hold on. Wait, let's go out here. Let's go out here.
I said-
and then she said,
That's still one of my favorite.
Yeah, they're talking about their wives and they're trying to be hard. And
My favorite episode is the
The wives come
football
out.
intro.
"Yes,
The which one?
Yeah.
The football intro.
Oh, yeah.
Black Richardson, Ohio State." Yeah, that was good. That was well.
Anyway.
And my favorite for that, and it's little known, but they did a skit where I think it was Keegan-Michael Key, the taller one, skinnier one. He played like a female pop artist.
Yeah.
And basically he went out and he sung about, the song was basically like, "Papa, my pussy all over the," and the whole time, all the women, the girl comes up to him and she's like, I was practicing my strong female empowerment and I let somebody run a train on me and I got pregnant and I don't know. And he's just like, "Oh, honey, you're going to be okay." He goes back into the dressing room and he takes off his hair and it's a guy. And he's just laughing at the camera. He's like, "Ha ha, I'm teaching them to be whores." And then I think it was like a year after that, Cardi B dropped WAP.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all I saw in my head. That's all I saw. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good segue into like
The holidays.
well, right?
No, let me tell you why. You said WAP. I was one of my favorite Christmas songs is "Baby It's Cold Outside." That and "These Are a Few of My Favorite Things." There are a couple. I have a few really really favorites, and "Baby It's Cold Outside" with Ray Charles and who's the woman? I think it's
It's not Ella Fitzgerald, is it?
it might be, but when John Legend redid it, and I love John Legend.
Yes.
The man is a genius. I love his music. And they tried to cancel that song.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what it is. But WAP was like number one for a
Yeah.
few weeks.
But-
so you get Cardi B could come out and say WAP, and you don't cancel that. But you're gonna cancel in the time and the period was a different time, and the story of this song isn't really, he's not keeping her in, against her will. It's bantering, it's flirting. That's what people did back in the days before the internet, and they hung out together, and they want to cancel that thing. And
Oscar graduated in '99, guys.
we
Remember
did, I
that?
did. Back in my day.
No, but
Bro, I was flirting on MySpace.
No. I was flirting.
I
with
was
my,
I was learning how to code.
Yeah, I was
no,
learning
I was-
HTML some shit.
I was flirting with my pager.
I was changing out my top 5 friends based on who I had a crush on.
Oh man, but no, Oscar, you bring up
4377.
you bring up a great point.
867-530.
The article that we're talking about today. You bring up a great point. Like so much now, and even again, not to bring politics in or anything, but teenagers now with the advent and their control over social media like TikTok, Instagram. I mean, they've done things like screw up a presidential rally.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this article is so cool to see.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I know Greta Gerwig, everybody has their opinion on her, but at the end of the day, how cool is it that we have people at this age that are paying attention to issues, and even if, let's say there's 20 kids that were on this initiative, if 1 or 2 of those 20 kids really get serious about it right now, what kind of change can they affect?
Well, and then back in my day conversation. I mean, I think this is a great positive soapbox to give them their voice, right?
Yes.
This is a great platform for them to, here, let's hear you out instead of just social media. We're going to just rant or whatever. No, this is a topic that we're interested to see what they think outside the box. It's a great platform to voice them and give them their space and time and history.
And I do want to point out, because Oscar said platforms, I do want to point out where you found this article.
Oh yeah,
It's on
PBS.
LinkedIn.
it's on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Nickelodeon.
So like, but that's exactly my point. Is
Right.
LinkedIn? When people think of social
Yeah.
media, I would venture to say that LinkedIn is what the Coast Guard is to the U.S. military. Like people don't really consider LinkedIn a social media. You know,
Yes.
like people look
Yeah.
at the Coast Guard, they're like, wait, it's Coast Guard. Wait, no, it's a military. Like it's not a locked in thing. So the fact that this is being shared on a
Yeah.
professional platform shows you something. It's
Yeah.
not just kids doing a hip dance to talk about it. Like this is something that they share to a professional community. So Jamo, go into it a little bit.
Well, so basically, there's a group of a consulting firm, and we've used their statistics before. John Burns Consulting, right?
Yep.
And they do everything housing market related. That is what their niche is. And they essentially went out and got together with middle schoolers and put a challenge to them to say, hey, the issue is affordable housing. How would you guys kind of figure it out, and what would the plan be? And it's interesting because essentially they came up with 3 different plans, right? And if when I read these, you're going to go, oh, that's actually like something that would make sense, right?
Was there a certain state that they did this?
It was New Jersey.
Okay.
New
Interesting.
Jersey. Yep.
Okay.
So they were not bogged down by time-worn takes on the challenges of supplying more affordable, really priced homes. They generate these 4 approaches. Each of them had merit. So there's 4 different approaches for affordable housing. And like Oscar said, and I commented on this article on my own LinkedIn, and I said the same thing. I go, it's really refreshing to see a point of view come through that is not bogged down by legacy thinking, right? Like these guys have not been a part of the house. All their experience with housing is maybe their parents moved,
We need somewhere to live.
but they lived in a house, right? And I made the point, I go, it'll be interesting to look back on this article in 20 years and see what of this of these designs were actually implemented. So I'm going to give you guys the 4 main ideas that they had, then we can kind of break them down a little bit and talk about it. So the first one was, and I think this is you'll like this one, environmental family. So the whole premise was a cooperative neighborhood of tiny homes. Key being cooperative, right? That's the first one. Second one was reducing construction costs
Was
with
that a
off-site
Mexican kid that did
constructions.
that one? Because
Yeah.
that's a very cultural thing.
Yes.
In the Hispanic community.
Yeah, so reducing construction costs with off-site construction, 3D printing, modular homes, bringing them into certain areas, right?
Speaking of which, have you seen the 3D
Yeah.
printing concrete
Yes.
one?
Incredible.
That's what it
They're just
reminded me of.
expensive right now.
Yeah.
Third one is called Bayonne and Beyond, converting underused industrial buildings to residences.
Nice.
We
Commercial,
talked about
yeah.
that 2 weeks ago. And then the fourth one is, rent or own apartments with low maintenance features and local subsidies. So remember, these are middle schoolers,
Middle school kids.
that are taking these. So we can start with the
Local
first one.
subsidies.
All right, so the
What
first
do you
one.
mean? Like,
The first one is basically it's based around having a cooperative
Yes.
unit, and they do this by a couple different things. I'll give you the highlights, then we can talk about it. The first one is it's a community of tiny homes that are solar powered, and their emphasis is on shared community, right? So each tiny home would include a small kitchen and a half bath with a toilet and a sink. Showers could be provided in community facilities, such as those common in dormitories and gyms, to keep home prices low. Kitchens would be small, with larger shared kitchens nearby in community
mess hall.
areas to encourage neighbors to cook and eat together. God forbid we interact with our neighbors, right? Instead of private backyards, shared playgrounds and open spaces that would encourage people to use the community and keep lot prices low. And then building on underused or donated land from businesses, schools, or churches could also help reduce cost. Solar panels on homes to generate electricity, community gardens to grow fresh food, multiple drop-off bins for recycling, and containers for composting and capturing rainwater.
Oh, the innocent mind.
I know this
Like-
is speaking.
I'm sorry.
This is speaking to the inner hippie that we have here.
And I'm the realist. I'm like, I am the real. My mind is just thinking, oh man, such innocent mind.
So
That's
quick,
what-
so
because
quick reaction. What do you guys think?
Okay.
What do you guys think?
So donated lands, right?
Yep.
I'm sure Gates Rubber Company would like to donate their. You can't. There's so much chemical dump in
Sure.
that stuff.
Yes.
You're not going to be able to grow, gardens or anything like that.
Yep.
And then shared community, kind of like barracks in the military. Yeah, that would I like it, but you know, as an adult, as being jaded through life, there's just so much like, yeah, that community shower thing probably not gonna work. You know?
Community showers may not, right? I agree with that. I think there's got to be a level of privacy.
Right.
But in my head, I go, okay, well, if you have...
But like a mess hall would be awesome.
Yeah. Like, not even a mess hall. Think about it this way, right? Like Avanti downtown, right?
Yeah.
If you have something like that in the middle of the community where you've got 6 or 7 different places, but all of those entities that serve food are growing the food from the land in the community itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I'll tell you what I love about it, honestly. And there's 2 things, okay? So if you haven't lived in the Northeast, if you haven't lived in New York.
Charlie's going to do a cult and he's going to start one of these.
No, if you haven't.
It's like a commune. It's a commune.
Well, no, and that's one of my points. But if you haven't lived in the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, you know, a lot of the time you don't realize how, yes, there's literal millions of people in this place, right? But you do not realize how community driven it is. You know, like 4 blocks will know everybody on those 4 blocks.
Yep.
And when they're having a kid, let's do a block party, whatever it is. So that first part, the fact that it's from New Jersey, I think that plays so much into it as to, hey, let's build this community, let's live together. But the second part about it, and this is something that yes, the hippie in me loves it, because me and my friends have talked about, you know, buying up land and just having a...
I've said the same thing.
Right?
Give me 35 acres. I'll build a compound with my 5 closest friends.
How
A couple
old are you, Jimbo?
barndominiums.
I think we've all
How old
had
are you?
that.
38.
And you're a millennial, right?
Yep.
I'm a younger side of the millennial.
I am an elder millennial. I'm still mixed in. Come on,
An
guys.
elderlennial.
But my whole point is, there's studies that have come out, and we've talked about this before, that talk about how millennials are more experience-based than they are, and we've talked about it, they don't want to buy a place, right? So it makes sense that kids that are in middle school, that have elder millennial parents that have that mindset of community and stuff, I think it's so cool to see that that's trickling down.
Well, not only that, but think about in middle school, right? What do you have? You have recess. So every day they go out and they play with their friends on a playground and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's the best.
We
time of the
don't,
day.
but as you get older, right? We don't necessarily do that as much. But in their heads, they're going.
We have to
well,
create a podcast
why
to
do we
hang out
need,
with each other.
No shit, right? Exactly. Like, why do we need our own yard? If I want to go out and play with my friends, I'll just go to the shared community, right? And by reducing the lot size, it's smart, because now, and this goes back to zoning laws where you want to allow for more dense building for single family homes. But to me, a community of tiny homes, if I take each lot's 10,000 square feet and I can go each lot's now 3,500 square feet, but I can build 3 houses versus 1 in an entire neighborhood, I've almost tripled the amount of affordable housing or housing available for anybody, as long as you're okay living in that type of setting.
And I like what you said earlier, Oscar. It definitely goes to show, and again, naivety and ignorance would be 2 very strong words with, you know, connotations to them, but you can tell how young they are. You know what I mean? Like, even
and they're similar words, but if you say you're naive, cute. Ignorant, So, but they mean the same. But
they're not jaded by life yet.
But it's interesting because you see that for the big picture. When you're with I won't name companies, but when you're with a certain company in real estate, their office model is small. You get a desk space or a very small office. They don't want you behind your computer in your office all day. They want you out in the field.
Yep.
So if you live life that way, that's even better.
You meet more people, experience more.
Kind of like Japan, you know?
Yeah.
Their living quarters are small. You go sleep and eat, maybe eat, because their kitchens are small, and they go eat, you know, out and
together
with friends and family.
Yeah.
How cool of a change of a lifestyle would that be?
Yeah, and I think this hits on, like, this solution specifically hits on density, or the ability to, the need.
Especially when you grow up in a place like New York.
Right, but the need to have, you know, you want your own space as a single family home versus living in a condo or a townhome. The only way to do that is tiny homes, right? IKEA hit on this forever ago when you walk into their stores and say, hey, here's a 320 square foot living space, and you get creative. If you go to Sweden, if you go to Finland, if you go to Norway, like that's how their model is, and they live very comfortably. You look at, you know, some of the happiest places to live on earth are places that have very high density, but they get creative with the space. Us as Americans, we don't have that. Like we're kind of society-wise, we want our own. We don't tread on me is the easiest. You know what I'm saying?
Like I told my wife, if we move out of this house, I'm going to acreage.
Right.
Yeah. I want to be right with myself.
But that's because that's how we've grown up. Now, granted, if you're on acreage, like Charlie said, What if you're on acreage with 3 of your best friends?
Oh, it's gonna
You know
get
what I'm saying?
crazy.
Right, but you
fun
would
as fuck.
enjoy that. But God forbid it's strangers.
Yes.
Because we just have this affinity to want to,
But, you know,
yes,
I see-
distrust people
distrust.
that
I
we
see
don't know.
myself and
You know
my
what I'm
son a
saying?
lot. My son,
Yeah.
no one's a stranger.
Yeah.
He's just someone he hasn't met yet.
Yeah,
Well,
that's how
nobody's
Kieran
a-
is.
as
Hey,
no
Dad,
one's
can
a
I say
stranger.
hi? Sure.
As
go
it
ahead.
should be. And all right, so that first one, what's the second one?
So the second one is reducing construction costs with off-site construction. So the key factor is they envision a neighborhood of affordable rental homes or homes for purchase, 3D printed off-site to counter high construction costs. This one's a little backwards because as of right now, we know that 3D printing is extremely expensive
And it has to be on site.
and it's slow and it's got to be on-site. But we're talking future, right?
Yep.
They
Well,
see
but-
that one
but
of the
there-
key factors keeping housing unaffordable was high construction costs and resolve to find a solution, which they are correct. Construction cost of material is through the roof. Labor's expensive and hard to find.
So
So this would make sense. But let me finish it, then we can start. So students decide that offsite 3D printing homes or components could be one of the best ways to reduce cost. They could charge significantly reduced rental rates, improving affordability without compromising profitability for builders and operators. And they have the environment and energy costs top of mind. This goes back to our climate change conversation we had last week, right? Plan to use recycled materials for these homes to reduce costs, and they would equip the homes with solar panels to lower both carbon footprints and energy costs for the residents, and completing the community on budget and residents enjoying below average utility costs would be the measure of success. So 2 things there. They want to reduce the cost to build these homes, and they want them to be environmentally friendly.
you know what's awesome about that is that kids, if they knew, brilliant. If they didn't, without knowing, they cut a lot of costs by saying off-site building. We're doing that now, but not enough. When we do modulars or pre-manufactured homes, they build them off-site. They split them in 2. They bring them to the site that has a foundation, put them together. How much are you saving there? You have all the tradesmen one spot. You're just material one spot, and then you're just delivering.
It's like a production facility for
Yeah,
cars.
and it would save a lot of costs there, believe it or not. And quite frankly, I did a lot of sales in Bennett, Colorado, and a lot of those homes, they have basements and foundations. They were built solid, better
See,
than some stick builds.
I was going to say that is something.
Yes.
We go back to the stigma of when I say modular and manufactured home, people go, ew.
Well, and I was
know what I mean?
legitimately about to touch on that, and it's funny how it's switched, right? To the point where like my parents or my grandparents, if they encountered somebody that was like, oh, this is a modular home, and when we say modular home, think like a trailer, like a trailer home,
Single
like
wide, double
single
wide.
wide, double
So
wide.
there's
yeah.
modular, there's mobile, and there's pre-manufactured.
Manufactured, yeah.
And so that just to put it in your heads, listeners and viewers, whatever it is, that's what we're talking about when we say
Well, and there's also a key difference there too, is you have modular homes that are built on slab,
yes.
and you have modular homes that can have fully excavated basements.
I mean, we've all been
Yeah.
driving on the highway and seen the wide load coming
Yeah.
through with a house on it. That's what we're talking about.
And if they had an axle at one point, you got to get D&B.
Well, and I just had a buddy. He's
which those aren't,
currently,
you don't find those as much anymore.
So
now,
he's
but-
currently in the military. He's in Arizona. He's in the Army, and one of his stations that he could come to is Colorado Springs. And it's funny. It's funny enough that this popped up. He sent me a listing, and in Colorado Springs, it was like 270,000 or whatever it was. And he just goes, "Dude, what the fuck? Why is this so cheap?"
Right.
And of course, you break out the listing, you scroll down. It's been on market for 70 days. Modular home.
Well, so there's 2 pieces of this too, right? The one issue, and I think this is something that obviously middle schoolers wouldn't have an idea of what this is. The one thing that drives people away from modular homes are land leases,
Yeah.
right? A lot of modular homes can be built on land leases, which can run $600, $700, $800 a month, and they run with the land for eternity. So yeah, the house itself may be $150,000.
It's like buying a vehicle and parking it somewhere.
Correct. But then you're paying $700 on top of that mortgage just for the land that you will never own. So I think that's where you could take something like this, and if it was either donated land or you did a lot premium versus a land lease, the problem is we're in America, right? Profit's always
Profit's
first.
always gonna go.
So somebody's going to own that land, and they're going to want to continue to make money for it, right?
But
if
I
you
think
have it,
that's a good, something to look
It's a
into.
good base.
It
It's
is
a good-
it's
it's
a
a
well,
good
and
base.
here's my contention, okay? If I were to present somebody an option to buy a second home, like a vacation home, I said, hey, here's the deal. We're going to go down to Costa Rica, and we're going to go to Pelican Bay.
Done. Let's go.
It's one of their more popular coves, a little bit north of Tamarindo. And there's a community there. that are all pre-manufactured homes. They're anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 square feet. They have private terraces overlooking the ocean and a private plunge pool with every single one in a gated community. And I said, you can go down there and I'll sell it to you for $265,000 in Costa Rica as a secondary home. And then if you want, you can Airbnb it out, do whatever. Who would say no? Not very many people, right?
For
I'm
all
thinking about it.
For all the listeners, I'm staring very intently at the floor right now.
Just saying,
thinking of
who would say no?
Who would say no to that?
Who would say no?
Nobody.
Right?
No.
400,000. Who would say no? Probably nobody. If I do that same thing here in the U.S. and I have it as a manufactured home, there's just this stigma of like, well, I want a real house. It is a real fucking
real
house.
And I'm
you
sorry,
know what?
but if I can cook, if I can have my kids in there, and if I could cook a good meal, host people, it's a house.
What's one of the biggest trends right now in custom homes, and they're hard to do because you have to get a construction loan and you have to buy land, barn dominiums. Barn dominiums are essentially manufactured homes, right? And they are significantly cheaper if you can finance them because they're built out of steel.
Well, the thing is that a barndominium is trendy. I'd rather have a manufactured home.
That's what I'm saying.
They're,
That's my
they're,
point.
they're
Exactly.
built well. I've
Yes.
sold
Well, and
enough
let's-
of them. It's
Same.
a stigma that needs to go away because
And let's be honest.
I've sold many, and some of them are freaking high end.
And let's be real. Most of the new build homes that you got right now, you're gonna get equal, if not.
Oh, bro,
lesser.
go on any next door page
Yep.
for Century Homes or Richmond American Homes
D.R.
or Lamar
Horton.
and D.R. Horton, and it's like, well, this is this, and this is leaking, and this is blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. There's just a stigma attached to it, and it's beautiful that these middle schoolers
Yes.
go, okay, I have no experience with the stigma of a manufactured home versus a traditional stick build. So why, if it's cheaper and I can get the same square footage, would I not do a manufactured home on a piece of land?
Love it.
And then be able to customize it how I want, but I'm saving $300,000 on the cost of the house.
Love it.
Why would I not do that? Like that's their mindset. Why would I not do that?
Because they're beautiful, beautiful.
I love it
Just
though.
brain that hasn't been tainted
Yep,
by life, and I need to
exactly.
keep up with the Joneses.
I know, but
and
that's my point
that
of
is
if I give you guys
gone.
that same criteria and say go build it in a tropical paradise, you're gonna be like, well, no shit.
Okay.
Why would I not do that?
Yeah, I'll live in a tent. Tropical.
That's what I'm saying, right? So that's a good one. I like that.
Unadulterated minds.
I like it.
Get to go places that.
So
are
this one-
jaded asses
Frank
can't.
Frank Sinatra, baby, young at heart.
Yeah. This is one that I think is fun just because we just talked about this. Commercial to residential conversion.
Yeah,
Right.
Well,
And again, everybody's going to want that because it's trendy. It's a loft. Who does
Well, and not only
I
that-
almost bought a place that literally looked like this.
Right.
Well,
so
not only that, but think about what's happened over the last 4 years with the pandemic and everything. They've sat there. These kids have gone like, oh, we're working from home, and now they're driving, especially in New York. They're driving past all these buildings that are empty. Nobody's in there. They're broken down, and they're just going, well, why? Wait, why is that person sleeping on? There's a corner right there.
So it's funny you say that because the first thing that comes up, and this was in, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Bay, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? So the students explored converting industrial buildings into an affordable modern community of open loft-style townhomes and condominiums. They were inspired by captivating images of abandoned brick warehouses.
Yep.
In their Bay, New Jersey community near the school in Open Park area.
Welcome to New York and New Jersey.
So here's the beauty of this, and this is why I have hope for the next generation, right? Their vision was that there would be financial incentives offered by local governments that would encourage investors to revitalize dilapidated commercial properties. They'd be divided into loft-style homes, 2-3 bedrooms. Amenities would include, and this is the theme still, communal rooftop gardens, shared laundry facilities,
That's fine.
proximity to school and open green spaces, fostering community gatherings and enhancing urban living.
Oh man,
You got transit.
I'm so excited.
So it would be like the Stanley Marketplace of
yeah,
housing.
exactly. Yeah,
That would be fun.
Well, and that's I love it. I love it, and especially because, like I said, growing up in New York, New Jersey area, Northeast, like I can't tell you how strong your community mind is. Like I said, I grew up going to block parties. I knew everybody on the block. Out here, somebody moves in my apartment complex right next to me. Nothing. I don't know who they are.
And it's weird if they come up to you.
Yeah,
right?
But it's like that's how I grew up.
My
Exactly
neighbor
what they're
showed up
talking about.
to my ugly sweater party. I don't know that she's gonna come
Right.
to any of my stuff anymore.
No, we
But
talked
that's
about it a
beautiful.
couple
I love
episodes
that.
ago. Like
I love that.
my street right? I talk to my direct neighbor.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
If you go down the street, there's a little cul-de-sac. They get together. But one of the reasons they get together is because 3 of the houses all went to high school together. So they knew who each other were.
Well, yeah.
And I think this whole idea of like a communal this and communal that, yeah, you want your own space. But at the same time, and we've said it a ton of times, human beings are a social species.
Well, and it
and it
to
is
that point,
vital
right?
to our survival to work together.
So my grandmother that lives in Queens, in Jamaica, Queens, in New York.
Nice.
She has lived on the same street since like 76. They bought the house, okay? So my grandmother has watched people come in, leave. And it's funny, I talked to her, and one of the main things that she talks about is like, I don't know anybody on my street anymore. There used to be American flags down the street, and like everybody knew everybody. And she said, I just don't know my neighbors anymore. You know, and it's even to hear her say that. And this is a woman that never locks her doors. Like, and that's why I'm not giving out the address, but I'm talking like just started locking doors. I would say 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but Christmas, she would have soda for kids. Like they knew the house.
Right.
And so it's just, it blows my mind how we've gotten to the point where we've gotten so much access to people and their information that we've now reclused. Because like, yeah, don't.
Well, I think it's
wanna be any
because
part of it.
if you talk about like social media, right? Like you're like, all right, I know this person because I see them on video or I see them on camera or I follow them on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. Like that's enough. I'm good. But God forbid I actually go and have a conversation with somebody and it's this is just how they grew up. Like the communal piece of this has shown up in so far 3 out of the 4 that we've talked about. And it's about to show up in number 4.
Yep.
You know,
Well,
that's interesting that you say that because because my wife has removed all social media from her phone. She doesn't do any social media. And I do minimal. I need to get back because of business and work. But when we were on social media all the time, my mom found it not necessary to come visit us or see how her grandchildren are doing because she just needed to pop on Facebook and seeing them grow on Facebook. That's sad.
yeah.
Once
absolutely.
we removed that, she was over the house and, you know, apologizing for our disputes and, you know, we're all good now. And, you know, she wants to see the kids again because there was a good brief of time where she didn't know what was going on with her grandchildren or us.
Yeah. And it just goes to show like every single one 1 through 3 so far has had an element of community. And, you know, and I always talk about this, you know, we go history, those who do not pay attention to history are doomed to repeat it. Right. And
we're fucked.
We're ebbing and flowing right now. But at the same time, it feels like we're going from Nixon into you know, like the more liberal, the more community driven, where oh shit, everybody's mad, everybody's angry at each other, and now it's kind of cooling down. And look at these young kids; they're looking at everything right now and be like, no, we're not separating. We need to be together. We need to rely on each other because again, humans, and Jameson said this earlier, we are an altruistic species. We stand on the backs of the giants that came before us. The only reason we have what we have now is because of our communities, because one person was able to stay up and watch and guard while the other one was sleeping. And I just love that these kids, as Oscar said many times, are just so untouched by life that they're in the forefront.
Innocence is awesome.
Well, the forefront of their mind is, no, we got to do this together.
Yeah.
Like that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I do.
And all right, so what was
With
the
that
fourth
said,
point
I
again?
need babysitters on the weekends. If anybody's out there to babysit my kids, it takes a village. I'm in need of a village. right now.
I need a village.
It was great.
I would like a village, please. So the 4th one, more affordable housing, rent or own apartments with low maintenance features and local subsidies. Here's some things that are going to stick out. So the first thing they brought up was income thresholds, right? Prospective residents must not exceed a certain income when moving into the property, but the rule would no longer apply after moving in.
Ooh.
I see there's something that could be problematic, right? But it also is to the point where you don't have to continue to like prove that you're
Well, it leaves
low
it
income.
leaves it open for manipulation.
Correct. But no, I think there has to be like you'd have to have a rule in here where if you're owning some of these, the price doesn't go up just because somebody with a higher income is now in there. But that it gets to the roadblock.
And then what if you go in and then you just want to stay there?
Correct.
And, you know, you further your business, your career,
Yep.
your education, and you end up making decent money. But I want to stay there.
Here's
What's cool about that is it will. Thank you. It would turn into kind of. I wouldn't even say balancing out. It would kind of just check off, you know, unaffordable housing.
yes.
Yeah.
Because if people want to do this, then all of a sudden all the houses kind of go down or no longer a thing.
Yep.
You want your own personal space, whatever, you could go pay for it if you want, or you could just come live here, and that would actually rectify a lot of stuff.
I like it.
Here's something else, and I think these two tie in together because you would need to subsidize the developers to do this, but you would have the option to buy or rent a unit depending on your financial situation.
Okay.
Right?
Now, see, I like that, and I wonder if they accounted, probably not, and obviously I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but in something like that, like what we've seen where rent is now going towards your credit, I think that right there,
Correct.
That is phenomenal.
Yes. So you could have a rent-to-own situation. You could sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to rent because I can't afford to buy it. I don't have a down payment, whatever. Or if you do have the ability to, you could purchase the unit and then you could build equity. I think that only happens if you have subsidies, right? Because the developers
again, now
want
we're complicating it.
Well,
and these kids are just like, here is a product.
Yeah,
And we're like, wait a minute, how can we complicate this crap?
Here's what I like.
See, that's just it.
This is what I like,
Yes,
right? And you can get into the a political argument of our military spending versus everything else in healthcare and yada, yada, yada. But the fact of the matter is our U.S. government has plenty of fucking money. Yeah. And we found out over the last 3 years, we can just print more of it, right? So let's put it to good use. Here's what their idea is, and I really like this. Local governments would subsidize the first year of rent or mortgage payments, and the money saved could be used to furnish the home.
All right, now hold on. I just felt so many people's buttholes pucker up. With the word subsidy and would be covered for a year. But I mean, how beautiful is it? How beautiful is that point right there?
There's an even better one. They take this a step further, right? So there's that piece.
Can I
Go
just
ahead.
make
Go for
you
it.
cringe a little bit because my conservative side just said,
See, no, I know that's what I mean.
and
That's
it's
what I
just
mean.
like I don't, and I was raised this way, right?
Yeah.
And again, this is not political, but I was always raised by my mother to never, ever, ever accept a handout.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
You try to give me stuff to even to this day. My good friend Mike Manzanares, shout out to Mike, he's a great dude. He's the one that taught me the lesson, and he said, dude, when someone tries to give you something and you say no, you're robbing them. It feels good to give, right? I said, yeah, you're robbing them from that joy.
Exactly.
And I've just in the past few years accept, help or gifts.
Yeah, and I think you would have to, like, I would put an extra layer on
regulations.
that. Yes,
Yeah,
and I would say
absolutely.
you have to meet certain qualifications for that because the fact of the matter is there are people that are worse off than other people, whether or not it's somebody that couldn't afford a college education, so they only graduated from high school. But while they were in high school, their mom was on rough times, the dad left, or vice versa, and they had to work, so they didn't get great grades. They fell behind on bills, medical expenses, right? Like that's one of the biggest ones. Like
There's just so many factors.
so many
that play
factors,
into
right? So if
And again, we're overcomplicating something that they provided, right?
But I think that the foundation is sound, right?
Yes,
Now, if you're
right.
going to sit there and have the local government subsidize your first year, you should have to have qualifications and pass certain stipulations in order to have that happen. But I don't think it's a horrible idea. It's not saying subsidize forever.
As much as people hate credit, I think a great baseline is you have to have this amount of a credit line, this credit score, and able to qualify for this year, because at least that shows you that they have a responsibility,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Some sort of responsibility for paying. And again, obviously people could pay credit cards and they're a shit person, but just something that simple, right? Something that simple could offset the people who you don't want, who would take advantage of it.
There would have to be a factor of education to like you said, a contracted
take a course or something like that. Yeah,
this is what you're going to do for that first year of subsidy.
Yeah.
And two things to touch on. One, I don't know what happened or if it's still happening with Habitat for Humanity. I did a lot of charity work with them, and we built a lot of townhomes. And I would go and donate my time, and we would literally construct townhomes, and then stuff like this would happen.
Hear me out. So what if for that year, what the subsidy's coming from is the community? So that for the person that's getting the benefit of that subsidy for 1 year, they get a more of a percentage of a tax on something to then add to the pool. Like that. I feel like that.
Or you have to have some a certain allotted time that you had to give back.
Yes,
to
exactly.
help us build some more.
Yeah. Ooh, I like it. All right.
So one of their other options.
Yeah.
Oh wait, and one more. in fact, check me. I have a buddy that's from the Netherlands, and I always joked around because he married, may she rest in peace, my friend Janet. And being Hispanic, the running joke is papers and all this other stuff. and
90 Day Fiance, baby.
I had to jab at him because he was not a U.S. citizen. He was a resident, and from the Netherlands. And I said, so now that you married Janet, you're gonna fix some papers? And I was just playing with him. He goes, absolutely not. And I was like, whoa, I was just kidding. He goes, no, absolutely not, because I will work here, but my retirement plans go back to the Netherlands. Over there, I never, ever, ever have to worry about housing or food.
Yep.
The two biggest major things. We're heavily taxed over there, but you never have to worry about housing or food.
So I love the whole giving back to the community piece, because the next thing that these middle schoolers brought up as an option is sweat equity.
Yes.
In that future tenants or homeowners would be eligible for reduced rent or purchase price of their unit if they helped construct the property.
Some swequity.
Some sweat equity.
Some swequity.
like
And on top of that,
Swequity.
to lower monthly costs, residents would pitch in to complete building maintenance to forgo
I like that.
a monthly HOA payment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I like it. The only thing is, right now, you're going to imagine walking up to an American and be like, you're going to work.
No, but if you were to say, hey, here's the deal. You're going to be living in this building that we had to construct. If you give us, to me, it's like community service, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hold
yeah.
on. I'm going to bring my old ass back in. I think this generation, and I've seen it. I'm not talking junk. I've just seen it. And please correct me. I love you guys all. But my generation, I think, was one of the last, my elder millennial generation is one of the last generations that appreciated and really went for apprenticeship. Because I've seen a lot of TikToks of these young kids demanding certain pay because they're working. They won't work for free, quote unquote. And, they don't understand the proposition, or there's not even a dollar amount on experience, right? And my generation was like, I'll go work for free, like an intern. I'll work for free to learn.
So
because that's worth more than money right now.
I would come back at you with, as a young millennial, with where we are right now, there is so much standard work that is being picked up by entry-level workers that should be known by management. So how to construct certain emails, how to post certain things, and yes, I agree with you that we've gotten away from the mindset of, I will give you my time to learn, the apprenticeship mindset. But at the same time, we've evolved so much in the workplace that a lot of people that are coming in are now required to do more work without getting recognized for it. And I think that's where the mindset of like, I'm not doing more than I'm getting paid for, because at the end of the day, like
that was also in my work experience. I quit Bank One. I'm not even around anymore. It's Chase now. But
Yeah, I think
Bank One did the same thing to me, and I was like, you know what? Because I was bilingual.
Yeah.
I was doing, my workload was heavy.
Yeah.
I think
Even
there's a
with
lot. There's a
Stargard,
lot of
heavy.
different factors though that lead into that, because I
Again,
also look at it
think
from
we could still, it could
Yes.
still happen.
It could. I just just as a very quick caveat, like if you look at college tuition. So I graduated from CU, right? I went there for 4 years, 4.5, because I slacked off one of the years. And my
CU, come on.
in-state
Think it's
yearly
required.
tuition to go there was $9,000 a year. That was before any scholarships, just $9,000 a year. If I were to enroll in CU now, as an in-state with no
Scholarships,
scholarships,
grants, anything.
I'm closer to $30,000 to $40,000.
I was going to say
And that's
36,000,
pre or
but-
post prime time?
pre
Pre-prime time.
pre-prime time. So there is a caveat where, like, when you and I went to college, it was a hell of a lot cheaper, right? Like when I rented my first apartment, and it was a nice apartment in Lone Tree, right by what used to be Fox and the Hound. I know it's some weird thing now in Lone Tree. I had a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment that was like, call it 950 square feet. My rent, and this was back in this is probably 10 years ago. I'm 38, 28, 26, 15 years ago, let's say. I was paying $800 a month. That was it, right? I think that's part of it, where you have people like, hey, I want to be paid. But regardless, I agree with you, right? I think there's a middle ground in there.
But
somewhere.
there's more involved, right?
There is. But I think if you
one is
give
the mindset of who we are and what our
Yes.
time's worth, and then we throw in
But if you
costs
say
of everything.
right, but if you say, hey, you know what, I want you to contribute 10 hours a week in service, community service, to building this unit, and in return, I'm going to lower your monthly costs on either rent or the actual purchase price.
I'm in, baby.
If you don't do it, that's on you, right?
And that's what we had a conversation, my wife and I, about, the homelessness in Denver. And, we want to do something. And then one of the managing brokers of a Keller Williams, I'm in a thread with them, and they were talking about, they went and helped out one of the Venezuelan encampments. They provided them with, and good job, guys. That was great to hear. They provided them with a continental breakfast, and they're going to go back and donate backpacks, first aid, and all kind of stuff for them. Now, this is tying in with, if you don't have money to make a change, you have time. And time is worth more than money, more times than not.
Well, I mean, and it's just...
So I like it. I like what they're doing.
It's one of those things, too, just the article overall and where we are, it's one of those things where I personally feel like, just the fact that this is an article in itself, the fact that we have people and kids that are willing and open to think critically about topics like this gives me a little bit of more excitement for the future and where we're going, right? And regardless of what's happening in politics, regardless of what's happening in the world, money, whatever, we need this. We need people to be thinking about it before they have to think about it.
And, as a father, I think we downplay children a lot.
Yeah.
Giving the opportunity or giving the task to a child to do a grown-up thinking process, they take it serious. They grab on and they're like, oh, you're okay. You're entrusting me with this. Let's go. It's going to be silly for a little bit, and then they're like, let's really dig into it. I did that with my son actually last night. We were playing Candyland. And at first it was like, we're playing Candyland and we're just playing. And then I turned it into a...
I could see it, Oscar. I'm laughing because I know I was like, so what do you think about this? What would you do with this?
So I said, okay.
Surprised it wasn't Monopoly. Really? Park Place? You're going to overpay for that right now? Do you understand where interest rates are at?
No, I didn't get that crazy with him, but I taught him the lesson of sore loser being an honest winner and not cheating, right? I purposely cheated one of the times, and then I picked up a card that really made me lose. And I was like, oh, man, I shouldn't have cheated because look where I am now. He's like, yeah, Dad, cheaters never win. And, that kind of mindset. And then I would lose.
Lance Armstrong won.
Well, all right. Real world.
Live strong, baby.
If you cheat, you can still make a lot of fucking money. But no, he would win.
Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds.
Because we started off, he's like, oh, Dad, and it was all crazy. But he would win, and I would say, let's shake hands. He was like, good playing with you.
Yeah.
And we were telling how many times he won, and then he lost, and he said, good playing with you, Dad. Instead of, you suck, like he does with his brother, and you're a cheater, and he throws up, and, he's one of those.
Flip the board.
Got to flip the board.
Yeah.
And it's cool that once you entrust them into a lesson that they want to learn, they'll do it.
Yep.
All
right. I think now is a perfect time to move into the One Rock takeaway for today's episode. And again, guys, this is what happens. We're just vibing. We're drinking some bourbon. We got a really good topic, great article to talk about. And we wanted to keep it shorter for you, but we're already at an hour before the review. So
I know, right?
we just love talking with you guys.
Goddamn.
Right?
And again, we're not holding you hostage.
No,
you can always leave whenever you want.
Leave
but
whenever
thank
you
you
want.
for sticking around.
Don't leave. Come back always.
All right, JMO, I'm going to kick you off first with the One Rock takeaway.
So
niche community.
I'll tell you what, my One Rock takeaway is going to come directly from the mouths of these students. And they were asked to come up with a vision statement, essentially, for all these different projects. And to me, it encapsulates what we're talking about better than I could say it. So I'm gonna give credit to, and I wish I had the actual middle school itself. Let me see. This is for the student teams at the Boys and Girls Club of Hudson County in New Jersey. So
what's Hudson County?
Hudson County?
Give me a.
Oh, bro, I don't know.
No, him. You know New Jersey.
Counties like that. But
I mean,
No,
I
but
know
what
that.
would it be like Highlands Ranch?
Bay and A is part of it.
yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'd have to look
yeah.
at where Hudson County
I
is. but-
was
be
going
like-
to say.
I don't think it's
Commerce
upstate
City.
New Jersey. I
No,
don't think
more
it's
like Commerce City.
Yeah, I don't think it's
more like
upstate New
Commerce City.
Jersey. I think it's
Aurora.
it's more. It's more like Newark-ish area. I think. I forget. We'll look it up.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I just wanted to
shout
understand a little
out
bit.
to the Boys and Girls Club of Hudson County. I think you guys encapsulated this project with this vision statement, and I mean, it's something I agree with. And obviously, as I progress through my real estate career and and have funds to make a difference, like you said, like this is something that I will continue to focus on because I believe it wholeheartedly too.
Me too.
But this is the vision statement from the Hudson County Boys and Girls Club. Affordable housing is important because all people should have access to housing that is safe and in good condition.
I agree.
I look at Oscar right when he says that because I think there's been 6 times now on the podcast where Oscar has finished with that one rock takeaway, that exact one rock takeaway.
That's it.
Everybody deserves a home.
I think that encapsulates what we talk about. I think based on what they did and the plans that they came up with without any sort of, predetermined thoughts or feelings or experience, that's it. That's my one rock takeaway. And I 100% agree.
My one rock takeaway has nothing to do with real estate. It's coming from my father heart. Don't downplay children's beautiful, unadulterated, innocent minds. They will change the future.
Mm-hmm. They have to.
Yep. My one rock takeaway is I think is a culmination of both of yours, and it's don't allow your life experience to cloud your imagination and your overall thought process, because at the end of the day,
stay curious.
Stay curious. Yeah,
Stay
exactly.
curious. Stay curious.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I would love to put somebody who's been in the real estate market and done this for years and put them in front of the lead student, the student that did this, and have them have this conversation, because it would just be nothing but jaded life experience versus hopeful optimism and thought.
Email me. We'll have this conversation.
Right? Right? Yeah. But I think that's my one rock takeaway is just
that's awesome.
Stay imaginative.
And that's why I said in the article, when I commented on it, I want to look back on this in 20 years and see what has been implemented.
Because I just think, again, just overall, the fact that this is an article from middle schoolers in the Boys and Girls Club in New Jersey, where let's be real, it is fucking compact. Like you will not experience that unless you live in California, New York, New Jersey. You will not experience a life like that where there's so many people.
California it's dense, but it's more spread out.
Exactly. But if you don't live in that Northeast New York, New Jersey, you will never experience the community, the beauty that is community. And it's I love it. Just Jameson, thanks for bringing this to the table today.
It's just scrolling. I was like, man, this is
right. And I love
such a
finishing.
cool article.
I want to just throw out there, like you keep calling it community, and in the Hispanic community, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like my wife, she's Scandinavian, she's American, but she would always say, "Man, your family's all up in your business." I was like, "That's how we roll, man."
Yes. That's
I mean, if I celebrate, we all celebrate.
It's like Italian.
Yeah.
I was gonna say New York Italians, baby.
If I hurt, we all hurt. That's just a sense of community outside of our family is not there. Imagine having the community feel outside of that. How big could they go?
We've gotten everything we've gotten because we've worked together. Imagine if we all started working together from this point on.
Japanese culture. Just look at Japanese culture.
All right, guys. Well, fun episode today. Great episode. Laid back. Talked about great article while we were sipping on a great bourbon. So I think it is now time to move in to the bourbon review for today's episode. And on today's episode, we are reviewing the Dexter Small Batch Rye Whiskey 5-wood combination.
And how do we rate it?
We rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the better, 10 being the worst, because the more rocks and water you add into your bourbon and whiskey, the worse that whiskey and bourbon usually is. So, on that note, boys, what are you thinking?
It's a rye, so I have to take that in consideration. It's a good drinker. It's good.
I love that you said that, because this whole time, legit, I'd take a sip and go, it's a rye. Take a sip, it's a rye. And I will say that, as I said at the beginning, rye is a totally different experience when it comes to bourbon. Like, you can't take an American whiskey bourbon and go, yeah, it's comparable to a rye.
A rye is meant to be mixed in a cocktail. I think, like, personally.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I will say that rye gives a little bit more complexity because of the mash bill and
it
tartness. But I will say, like, when you use a rye, obviously more times you're going to use it in Manhattan because you have the sweet vermouth. You're going to break it down a little bit. But it becomes a thing where it's, in my mind, they're just separate. You can't.
They are.
Yeah, you can't. I can't. If I were to rate this against that Prohibition whiskey, I would go, you know.
But you can't. It's
no,
too
you
different.
can't. You can't. It's a totally different mash bill. It's a totally different experience. And so, Jameson, before we get into the ratings, what do you, give me the cost.
64.
64. Okay.
You can find it for 60.
And the 1920 was
64.
64. So we're looking at 100 proof versus 100 proof. 64, 64.
115 proof.
115.
It was 115.
Yes, you're right.
The prohibition
It was
115.
medicinal strength.
Yes. Medicinal. 115 versus 100. 64, 64. But one's a rye, one's an American whiskey bourbon. Yeah, and I will say it opened a little bit. Not as much as I expected it to. But I don't know if that gives it more credibility as a rye.
I think so. The credibility for me is whenever I looked for a good old fashioned, I looked for Templeton's rye, just because you want to break it down, right? Because you have the simple syrup and all that, and that was always a good rye to go with it. Because this is a rye, it would make a good old fashioned, but I don't think I could sip Templeton rye. You know, their 8-year or whatever, their starter one. I don't think I could sip it just like this, neat, or even on the rocks. It's a rye, true and true. It's a good one. This one, I've been sipping this whole episode. It's good.
Yeah. It's easy on the palate. It's not
It's a good drinker.
It's not that rye that just punches you and where the alcohol almost kills it. This is complementary to the alcohol. And that, I mean, again, just opening like.
We get a lot more floral now.
Yes. Way more floral, way more spice forward, less sweet. But that it's still there. That sweetness for a rye, that's incredible.
It's good.
Yeah. It's like, and it's funny because I want to
say floral like potpourri though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not like fresh flowers.
No,
like
like a
potpourri.
culmination of a dried flower.
Yeah.
I think we'd have to go back to like episode 10 maybe, and we did Smoke Wagon, their single barrel rye.
Yeah.
I think I like this more.
You know what?
I'm gonna grab.
I'd
JC's.
like to taste them side by side because I enjoy.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Hold up. Wait
Something
a
ain't
minute.
right.
I enjoy the Smoke Wagon, the green bottle.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Whoa.
From what I remember.
Whoa. Hold on.
I don't know. Charlie doing some crazy woes over here.
Yo. All right. That's okay. So JC's glass. This is the one that sits open the entire episode. We don't sip it.
Wow.
Right? That's wild.
No burn.
No burn.
Crazy.
Nothing.
Okay, I gotta try now.
Yeah.
Here.
Stick your nose in that thing.
The
It's
note-
crazy.
the
It's like
notes
water.
Yeah, the notes are totally
At all.
different.
Because I still have some in mine. This was just poured.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's
weird, right?
wild.
That's a completely different.
That's a completely different drink.
Yeah.
It's sweet.
It's way sweeter.
Yep.
There's just no burn.
No. And the you can definitely get that wheat, that grain out of the one that's been open the whole time. Jameson just took a sip of it. I don't care. I'm risking it. I have to.
What are we risking here? You got the vid? What's going on? All right, let's see. I gotta have some of this. I'm gonna do the.
That is. Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's a totally different drink.
It hits the palate wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that?
it's a lot more sweet forward.
A lot more sweet forward.
You can get the wheat. The rye kick
on.
is almost gone.
Yes. It's smoother too.
Yeah.
It's not
Well,
as
that's what I'm saying. The rye kick is gone.
Yeah, it's not as full bodied.
It tastes more like the that now. So
Yes. That
and only because we just tasted it.
wild.
That glass now reminds me of Old Elk we did,
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
but with a rye.
Wow. Okay. I'm
That
glad
might-
I did that.
That
The
just
spice.
changed. That
The
changed.
spice
that
was.
That changed my rating.
Totally
That
changed
my
it.
rating.
Yeah. The
Okay.
spice kind of doled out.
Yes.
that changed my
Yes,
rating.
gave way more taste to the grain on the one that on
Yes.
JC's that was sitting open.
Yeah.
Whereas the one that we've been pouring,
It's very peppercorny.
it's peppercorn, but
Yes.
it also has on the nose. It's a lot sweeter.
Yeah.
Like by letting it sit and open, that grain came through and that rye shined
Yeah.
through a little bit more. And even
I think it showed its complexity sitting open.
oh man, this is gonna be a hard rating. Gonna be a hard one.
I know what I'm gonna give it.
So the Old Forester 1920 held our highest rating,
2.5, right?
2.5.
Well, I think that matched Dexter.
We ended up Coleman,
Didn't Dexter have 2.5 too? Dexter was 2.5.
So it was Smoke Wagon, Dexter, and the 1920.
I think
that
Barrel
all.
Proof was up there too.
Yeah, that was
Elijah-
all.
Elijah Craig.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was all around.
They had private barrel.
2.5.
Had bubbles. I didn't. pick it
Now,
up.
again, obviously this is a rye, so it's hard to compare to the regular bourbons. And again, because it's a rye, obviously, like somebody who doesn't drink bourbon, and we talk about this all the time, this would probably deter somebody that doesn't drink bourbon regularly. They taste this and go, "What? Yeah, it's hot. It's so peaty. It tastes earthy." But I mean, I'm torn. I don't know. I feel like I have to rate it as a rye and not as a bourbon overall. Because if I rate it as a bourbon overall, obviously because it's rye heavy, for me it's going to be a little bit higher of a rating than it would normally be. Not terrible, not demonstrous.
If we were rating just ryes, man,
Yeah, if I was rating just a rye, this would
it'd blow it out of the water.
I will say this, out of all the ryes that we've tried on the channel, the complexity, the smoothness of this one totally blows it out of the water.
But again, I forgot about that Smoke Wagon. That is an excellent drinker.
Yes.
It's an excellent, excellent rye. That I wouldn't even buy it to mix.
Yes, I would just sip it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm
Same
going to
here.
have to step back on this one and give it a second. I'm going to let you guys take your rock ratings on it.
I keep going back and forth because it is a great drinker. Obviously, the bottle's almost gone. I can't rate it just as a rye. Obviously, we just got to rate it even to what we're drinking. The drinkability's there, the flavors there, the complexity's there. There's really nothing that I don't like about this. It's right around my wheelhouse of how I like to drink my bourbon and rye. Because it is a rye, it just steps outside of the well-roundedness of what I like in a bourbon, and that's unfair to this particular bottle. So there's a lot of things coming into play. Give it a 3.
Okay. I'm okay. Yes, I think I'm right there with you. If I have to give it a rating for just, again, if we go plain against the grain with everything else that we've tried, if somebody, new bourbon drinker was trying it, I think I'm sitting right there with you. I would go 3.1, 3.2.
Now I can't say that I've had another rye that's like it, because even the Smoke Wagon, it's different.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
way
absolutely.
different than the Smoke Wagon.
Absolutely.
If I had to be like rye versus rye, this is probably one of the best ryes I've ever had.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and so it's interesting you bring up Smoke Wagon, because what we know about Smoke Wagon is they mix their barrels from other people's barrels. So they have a mixologist that will, for their small batch rye, take rye bourbon from Heaven Hill, and they do their barrel selections. They bring it out to Las Vegas. They then mix those and distill it that way, right? So I give this a little bit more credence because it's its own distillery. They go from A to Z, from barley, wheat, corn, rye, all the way to the bottle by themselves. They're
From
not
scratch.
They're not by, right? So that's one reason I'm going to put it in front of Smoke Wagon. Second reason I'm going to do it is because of the vibes.
Yeah.
Okay, for whatever reason, like I said it's cigar in the first place. I also think that as the bottle opens up and you're smoking a cigar, it will actually accentuate the flavor and the flavor profile of this bourbon. I don't know, man. To me, if I put this maybe on one ice ball, right? Have a cigar around a fire pit, talking about life with some of my closest people.
Absolutely.
That's what I get. So I'm gonna go.
I think that ice cube will fast forward.
I think we rated the Smoke Wagon rye like a 3, if I remember correctly. I'm gonna go 2.8. 2.8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I'm going
Okay.
2.8.
Well, and it's funny. I'm
Like I
looking
said,
at
if it was rye versus rye, this would be up there in the 2s.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2.8. I enjoy ryes though. Like that is also my wheelhouse. Like I do have but the fact that this is rye heavy but has a sweet profile to me is like a perfect mixture between the two. I
love it.
like the Dexter was a 2.5 for me, as was the Prohibition, because it was smoother. Therefore, to me, a little bit easier of a drinker, only because it wasn't a high rye mash
Right.
bill.
And that's why I said
So-
it's unfair but fair for this bottle.
But I also feel like if
competing with
I'm
bourbon.
smoking a good Maduro, right, and then I take a
This
sip
would
of
be so
and I take a
good.
sip of this, I
Have
think
it in
it
the car.
actually
So good.
the little bit of edge it has, I
Yeah.
think disappears.
The sweetness from
know what I'm saying?
this would edge out
Correct.
the bitterness from the Maduro.
Yes.
Like that 100%.
You know what this bottle did? I don't know, and this is me. When I'm smoking a good cigar, good Maduro, the best part of the cigar is when it's
The last 2
about
inches of the cigar.
an
Yes,
inch
sir.
and a half.
Yes, sir.
The burn comes into play. I mean, everything. The flavors of that cigar are just there.
Yeah,
It's
I would take
It's my
this.
favorite, and that's what this did when it opened up.
I would take this on like this would be a good campfire.
Well,
bourbon.
honestly, like if I would put this in a decanter. If I was having like a good business meeting with big people that I knew like bourbon,
leave it
and
open.
smoke cigars,
Yep.
put it in a decanter for a bit, bring it with me, provide the cigars, and go. All right, guys, let's have this because this would. I feel like if you brought this,
This is one of those back channel meetings.
Yes.
In a like hickory wood cabinet office with a bunch of leather bound books.
This is the
is.
drink. This is the drink that
like it.
decisions are made with.
Yes, exactly.
Let me put it like
Yes,
that. Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we're in the back room trying to figure out how to push an affordable housing bill through Congress, and
We're in the
more
back
votes,
room.
You know
we're
what
in
I'm
the
saying?
back room
Like,
trying not to screw up what the middle school
yes.
is. Just
Then I'm
present it
sitting
to us.
there, and
I like
that's,
it.
That's
I
how
like
is.
it. Well, guys, everybody, just want to say thank you so much for joining us in 2023 in general. Honestly, this year started really hard for us as a podcast.
Yes.
If you've been following us, you know. And in all reality, 2023 was a year where we didn't know if this thing was going to continue. And we wanted to make sure that we continued a legacy and just kept bringing the value to everybody. And that's where we came. And like I said, guys, we just crossed over 1,000 downloads on the podcast. We're over 130 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, all of our listeners, all of our viewers, for following us, supporting us, commenting, liking. Even if you've only watched 2 minutes, even if you only watched the bourbon reviews, 2023 was a year for us that gave us a credence to this whole podcast. And we appreciate you guys so much. And sharing this bourbon with you, drinking this bourbon with you guys, 2023 was a year for me that will forever be known as a growth year. And this podcast was such a solidified element of that. And I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you, gentlemen, so much for sharing the bourbon, having wonderful conversations, teaching me, letting me learn, growing with me throughout this, as our viewers have, right?
Yeah, I think 2023 from the podcast standpoint was like we laid the foundation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was like, okay, we're doing this.
And it's
gonna do
something that we had some resolve that needed to happen. So looking into 2024, I look at it as springboard with
Get
you
ready.
gentlemen and with everybody that's watching.
We're gonna
this.
get creative with it.
And I think that I think we've established that we can give good information, funny information. We can do it entertaining, but we can be serious at times. And hopefully, you guys
I
follow
can get
us
super
into 2024.
serious, but
you know
if you
what I'm
want to
saying?
see some blooper reels,
Yeah.
so he has a whole file of them.
Well, and you know what? Honestly, like anybody who's followed us during this time, anybody who's subscribed during this time, thank you, because we have so much more coming for you in 2024. I know we did some guests, but we're going to focus heavily on guests because at the end of the day, we want to bring you the best value, the best information, and that's how we're going to do it. So please remember, you can always find us at YouTube, at Living in Colorado, The Mile High Perspective. If you have any questions for us about bourbon, real estate, affordable housing, whatever it is, you can always email us at resotr@themilehighperspective.com or give us a phone call.
303-578-0263.
And echoes to all three of us. We get text messages, phone calls. We want to have these conversations with you. And if you want to be on the podcast, reach out to us because
we would
we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. And on that note, guys, everybody have a phenomenal holiday, a phenomenal new year. Enjoy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah,
Merry Christmas.
right? Merry Christmas, everything.
We love it all.
Merry Chrysler.
I celebrate Christmas, but if you're Jewish, I would love 8 days of presents.
Right? Just
Invite me. I'm there.
everybody.
Ramadan, all of them.
This
Good
has
food.
been, the last couple of years have been very hard. And, we're just grateful that you trust us with your information and you come here regularly. Thank you guys so much. On that note, cheers to 2023.
Cheers.
We're not going to have an episode next week, but everybody enjoy their holiday. We will catch you later.
Salud.
Cheers.